introduced 1 year of early childhood education in all primary schools as preparatory to primary 1. So our school system now is to begin from age 5, whereby after that 1 year of the schooling, then the child is prepared to start primary education at the age of 6. Then the advanced education program is a program that has been dear to us, and even Mr. President and Mr. Vice President. Remember during the campaign, it was one of the major issues that we talked about last year, that realizing we need to take care of this group of families that are on the streets, then there was need for us to develop schools, construct schools and partner with the states. But let me say one thing that will be clear. When federal government decided, and we were directed by the President, to come out with what policy can we have that will help us address the issue of access in the primary schools, then we realized that we have about 9 million advisory on the streets. So that became a big issue. Mr. President said that no, we had to make way for this group of students that are outside school system. So in that respect, we started with the tertiary education trust fund, then tertiary, then the education trust fund, before it transformed into tertiary. And then we started with construction of 36 advisory schools. And I'm sure just few weeks ago, most of you are aware that Mr. President was in Sokoto personally to even commission the first model school there and handed over to the states. So the intervention of federal government in the advisory system is not for federal government to interfere with the state's responsibility, because we are all aware that education is on the concurrent list. But it is out of concern that if federal government does not give that leadership, then states may not have anything to work with. So as such, there has been an agreement, and I'm sure even another MOU is going to be signed tomorrow. There will be a big meeting with the governors, with Vice President and the 2 ministers and other members of the Federal Ministry of Education to see that we actually discuss with all the governors of the Federation and their teams on the implementation process of these schools. The MOU that was signed between Education Trust Fund and the various students was that federal government is only constructing the schools, equipping the schools, providing the necessary materials and even textbooks. But then, from there, the states take over in terms of the enrollment of this advisory, in terms of taking care of their madams, because remember, you take the advisory out of the streets and leave the madams, then of course another group of advisory will soon emerge. So that is the agreement we have, and of course tomorrow I'm sure you will see more on that. Then that is on phase 1. But then we realize that 36 schools cannot solve our problem. Then of course UBE has also the mandate to ensure that we take this advisory out of the streets, and we even have a standing national committee on advisory under UBE. So as such, UBE continue with the second phase of this advisory schools, and they are currently at the moment constructing 66 number of advisory schools, totaling 102 schools for now. I'm happy to inform us that all those being constructed by Tech Fund or ETF is they are either completed now or just very few that are near completion. And that was why we saw the commissioning for handing over of the Sokoto Advisory School. But then, those that are also being constructed by UNIT, all the 66 are in various levels of completion. That by the month of June, towards the end of the month, I'm sure all these 102 advisory schools will be ready for handing over. And let me also state very clearly that yesterday when we had a meeting with Mr. Vice President, and even Mr. President has mentioned earlier, that we are going to expand the issue of access. Doesn't mean that we are going to expand advisory to all states of the Federation. Some geopolitical zones to ensure complete access or near complete access by the year 2050. Then we also have construction of best education project schools. We have already centers in 16 states of the Federation with a budget of about 2 billion naira. Remember, the issue of girl child education is also key to us in terms of access to schooling. That in some parts of the country, the issue of girls education is still a big issue. We are still having more girls out of school than boys. So as such, we are also constructing 16 girls education centers in this particular state that we know if we have these centers, we will attract the issue of girl child education, and with that, we can have more girls in school. But of course, we are also working with various steps of the Federation through the Honorable Commissioners to see how we are addressing this issue of girl child education, particularly in those areas where we are really fully engaged. So as such, the girls education project is a project that we are also having partnership with UNICEF, and in that case, also UNICEF is given a kind of intervention to some states, and we have seen how those states are beginning to improve the number of girls in schools. And of course, we had access campaign for girls, and we are already saying we are going to have access campaign for boys programs. And I'm telling you that that one is coming very, very soon, probably in the month of June. There are schools and vocational centers constructed and donated under bilateral cooperation by China, Japan, and Korea in Abuja, Kaduna, Kogi, Adamawa, and Gombe State. These are also countries that feel that they wanted to help Nigeria to achieve access. So they are looking for states with low enrollment ratio, and then they constructed some schools and additional classrooms for us, which they have already handed over to us. And of course, the issue of girls' education is something that we are still working on, which definitely we are working with the states, and that's why we are having a routine meeting with honorable commissioners of education. Then the first set of students admitted for the 9 federal universities has been done, even though we are awaiting specific take-off by all these 9 federal universities. When we introduced these 9 universities last year also, there were issues in terms of people asking us, why are we creating more universities? Why don't we concentrate on those that are already on ground? We acknowledge that, but we acknowledge and are happy to say that we are working in all our federal universities. If you go around the federal universities, I know we do have challenges and we are living with them, but the rate that we are going with the support of the transformation agenda of Mr. President on education, I'm sure the issue of addressing these challenges is just a matter of very few years. Of course, we have additional private universities which we issue licenses, about 9 of them within this period, even as a total of about 18 federal and private universities. And of course, we have some few states that are also establishing state universities. But what I really want to say is that the more we construct these universities and other institutions of learning, the better for this country. If we look at the number of graduates that we have, over 1 million every year, and the space that we have is not for more than 1/3 of them, then you know that we do need more and more institutions of higher learning. And we are calling on private individuals, corporate bodies, and organizations to also continue to partner with us and come up with more of these institutions, because we are not really playing our key role on ensuring that we pass